Eid Mubarak, Canada, and I do actually mean that sincerely to all Canadian Muslims and whoever else might be watching this around the world. Now, I know the title of this video is Canada Spends Eid with the Muslim Brotherhood, and I just want to outline that I don't think there's anything wrong with politicians, pandering. It is pandering, but it's fine to celebrate Eid or Diwali or Hanukkah or Christmas. There's nothing wrong going to a mosque on Eid, making a speech there as a politician, showing solidarity with the community. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. And if you're angry about that, well, then you're probably being ridiculous, right? You'd have to be equally as angry, like maybe you're a militant atheist and fine, right? Then you have to be equally as angry when Donald Trump says Merry Christmas on Christmas, right? If you go to a church on Christmas and say Merry Christmas, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a religious person. I don't care, right? Now, here is where the problem is. What church do you go to when you say Merry Christmas? Do you go to a regular church? Do you go to a Catholic church? Or do you go to the Westboro Baptist Church? Right? This is the question we have to answer. Like, you have to look at the organization you're going to be promoting and what do they say, because you're endorsing that. Now, most of Canada's major politicians are now endorsing a pretty clear Muslim Brotherhood front group in the Muslim Association of Canada. So, I'm going to read you their tweet. Join us for the MAC's Eid to Remember, hashtag Eid to Remember, full day of Eid programs with greetings from, here are the politicians, Honorable Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Minister Ahmed Hussein, Minister Bill Blair, Minister David Lametti, NDP, Jagmeet Singh, Conservative Party Headquarters, Andrew Scheer, Peter MacKay, Aaron O'Toole, Doug Ford, Jason Kenney, John Horgan. Okay, so right here we have the Prime Minister, the former immigration minister, Minister of Bill Blair, that's basically, we have the police, Minister of, and then Lametti, Justice Department, so the law, the police, leaders of all three major parties, Jagmeet Singh, Andrew Scheer, head of the opposition, useless, do-nothing commie, and the Prime Minister, then two Conservative Party leadership candidates, Peter MacKay, Aaron O'Toole, then three premiers, Conservative Doug Ford, NDP John Horgan, and Conservative Jason Kenney. So, take that, Alberta. You can no longer say you're immune to all of this nonsense like we are. Now, what is my problem? Here is the Muslim Association of Canada. Now, last year, if you went on their website last year in 2019, as I have done and made videos about, you would find this in their About Us section. This is what the Muslim Association of Canada said about the Muslim Association of Canada in 2019 in their About Us section on their website. The MAC has roots that are deeply enshrined in the message of the Prophet Muhammad. Fine. Its modern roots can be traced to the vigorous intellectual revivalist efforts that took hold of the Muslim society starting in the earliest 20th century. Now, here's where their wording gets a bit creative, and I can break this down. This revival aimed at reconciling faith with the challenges of modernity and providing a clear articulation of balance and moderation and understanding of Islam. Right, so when they talk about the struggles of modernity, let's see what they're talking about here. In the Arab world, this revival culminated in the writings of the late Imam Hassan al-Banna and the movement of the Society of Muslim Brotherhoods, in brackets, commonly known as the Muslim Brotherhood. Al-Banna's core messages are of constructive engagement in society, focus on personal and communal empowerment, and organizational development that has a deep impact on the Muslim world. Okay, this is where the problems are. They say Muslim Brotherhood. Those are our roots. There are very few organizations that have ever openly declared themselves Muslim Brotherhood in affiliation. The only ones I can think of right now are the Muslim Association of Canada and Hamas. Okay. Now here's where things get to the point. Not all Muslims in Canada are Muslim Brotherhood. Okay? In fact, the majority are not. A lot of Muslims here are not third generation. It's first and second generation. They often come to Canada to get away from the places they left. The reason why the places they left are terrible is because of people in the Muslim Brotherhood or Jamaat-e-Islami. Now, we don't want to paint the narrative that Muslims are crazy and they're against society. That's not true on the whole. Now, are some people of certain faiths, of certain particular, political, religious, or whatever ethnic sects, are they crazy? Yes, of course. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood has openly stated that its goal is to infiltrate Western civilization and destroy it from within, right? Their goals, according to Yusuf Qaradawi, their spiritual leader, to conquer the West through dawah. The pen is mightier than the sword is what the Muslim Brotherhood believes. So it's very clear that we can now say that Canada's politicians, legal department, and legal and law enforcement, the heads of them at least, do not care about Islamic extremism of a certain type. Now, here is where we got to make the distinction on types of extremism. There are two different types, and this is sort of the Sam Harris thing that Ben Affleck yelled about. To rehash this, right? Within the sort of problem extremism, you have the jihadists. This is ISIS. This is people who are saying, global caliphate, grab the gun, chop the heads off, kill until we get our way. Jihadists. They go boom. They destroy Twin Towers. Everyone agrees they're evil. Now, there's another type of extremists, and these are the Muslim Brotherhood, or the Islamists, right? And the Muslim Brotherhood is the biggest sect of Islamists. You also have the Khomeinis, you have Jamaat-e-Islami, which is Pakistani, so he's the Asian Muslim Brotherhood, really. They work together in the West. They're the same thing, like, in the West. Okay. They are the problem. Now, here's what the Muslim Brotherhood's favorite tactic is. And this is why this is so bad that the Canadian politicians are reading them. They like to say, we disagree with terrorism. No. We're nonviolent. Ignore the writings of Saeed Qutb and ignore Hassan al-Banna and Hajj Amin al-Husseini, who, when they started the Muslim Brotherhood, one of the first things they did was send militants into British Mandate Palestine to murder Jews. But don't worry, our chief spiritual leader, Yusuf Kardar, has ruled that murdering Zionists isn't terrorism because you're preventing terrorism that way. So murdering all the Jews isn't terrorism. So we're not terrorists and we're not violent because, remember, killing Jews doesn't count as violence. Jamaat-e-Islami says the same thing for Hindus. Like, we're not violent, we just kill Hindus, and Hindus aren't really people, so we're not violent. And the West is like, see, they say they're not violent. Now, that's the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay. So what the Muslim Brotherhood likes to do is say, we are the moderates, because we're not as crazy as ISIS. Now, they ignore the fact that every major terrorist came out of the Muslim Brotherhood. That is head of ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, former Muslim Brotherhood member. Osama bin Laden, former Muslim Brotherhood member. Zarqawi, former Muslim Brotherhood member. Okay, we can go down the list. What we want to do is paint the image that Muslims are not crazy. Because they're not. Okay? There's a certain sect, Muslim Brotherhood, Islamist sect, that is trying to take over the world. Okay? We can't have that. But they're not the majority. However, almost every single time a Canadian politician decides to meet with a representative of the Muslim community, 90% of the time, there's a Muslim Brotherhood guy in there. So what are Canadians supposed to think when you as your politician put your arm around someone and say, this is a leader of the Muslim community? Then I go online, it's on Wikipedia, it's on the Canadian Senate testimony. The Muslim Association of Canada has been identified in the Canadian government by expert testimony as a Muslim Brotherhood front group. It's been identified on their own damn website that they're a Muslim Brotherhood group. Okay? And you put your arms around them and say, this is the leader of the Muslim community. People think those people represent the views of Canadian Muslims. Then you go and you see Muslim Brotherhood. So what are Canadians supposed to think? That the Canadian Muslims reject the Muslim Brotherhood ideology forthright? That we just ignore it? A lot of us will stick our head in the sands. We're very good at sticking our head in the sands as a country. Very good. Like, unparalleled to a lot of other countries. So, what's the end game here? Now, they have lots of money. I mean, the Muslim Association of Canada many of their projects have been named in the Qatar papers, where we've had leaks from the Qatar charity that's funded by the Qatari government, that they set up funds in the West to specifically push the values of the Muslim Brotherhood and to Islamize the world. Okay, so I'm begging you, please, stop embracing and promoting Muslim Brotherhood front groups. They're not the majority. There are so many non-Muslim Brotherhood mosques, organizations, intellectuals. I have some of their numbers and their contacts. If you want to know, Peter MacKay, Aaron O'Toole, Doug Ford, Jason Kenney, Andrew Scheer. If you want to find Muslims that are patriotic Canadians who don't want to change our country, who want to live in our country, I will connect you to them. Now, I want to sort of defend sort of the innocent Muslims that are getting caught in the crossfires here, because even worse now is because you keep endorsing these groups. Most Muslims are people, and most people are people, okay? And what I mean by this is they'll do the people-y thing, which is just go with the flow, right? If you're a first generation or second generation, random Muslim woman, you work as a nurse, you work as an executive assistant, you work as a whatever. You're middle class Muslim family. You're not Islamist. You're happy to be Canadian. You love being in Canada. You go to mosque. You have multicultural friends. You're the poster child for whatever. You probably want your kids to do well in our society. I will never fault you for that. I'm assuming that's what most Muslim parents think. Is I want my kids to do well here. They're not thinking Sharia law. We got to some people do. But that's not the majority. And if you see that politicians are always hanging around these specific organizations, and these organizations have links to politicians, you would say, hey, kids, instead of going to a Muslims Facing Tomorrow, which preaches Canadian values and openness, but gets attacked by the government because, well, they call out some of the radicals, you just say, oh, the Muslim Association of Canada. Justin Trudeau endorsed it, Jagmeet Singh endorsed it, Andrew Scheer endorsed it. Right? What a wonderful organization. Most people aren't going to go, I'm going to see what their website said in 2019. Oh, Muslim Brotherhood. Uh-oh. No, they're just going to go with the flow and send their kids into there. Then they go into those programs. It's Muslim Brotherhood. They get radicalized. And boom, that's how they grow. And this is so obvious, right? There's many security experts who have written on the dangers of this, and politicians have ignored it. Now it's official. Every major Canadian political party, Ontario, Alberta, BC, all bending over, going head over heels. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how obviously something is Muslim Brotherhood. They could sit, like, now we're at the point where an organization could scream at the top of their lungs, we are the Muslim Brotherhood. And even the Conservative Party will bend over backwards to endorse them. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I'm telling you, just find a mosque, they're all over, with no Muslim Brotherhood connections, right? Don't, Khalid Rashid, hey, the ISNA has 3 different terrorism funding violations. Yet Doug Ford and his whole team are outside the ISNA. Here we are, the ISNA. It's like 3 terrorism funding violations. Hello. How many do we need? Come on. Canada, just pull yourself together, find one of the vast majority of non-Islamist Muslims and say, this is now a leader. Do you want an imam? Do you want an intellectual? Do you want an organization that's not Muslim Brotherhood? I have their names. I have their numbers. Call me. I'll help you out, and we can save Canada together. Somehow I doubt I'm going to be taken up on that offer anytime soon.